Hi and welcome to the weekly predictions based on astrology for the week of November 30th, 2020. In terms of the stock market direction, I think that the market will go up perhaps slightly on Monday the 30th, and it will also go up on Tuesday, and that those two predictions are based primarily on the positive or other supportive transits to US charts, so maybe slightly greater probability of market going up in the US than globally. Then Wednesday and Thursday look like down days to me, and again then on Friday there's a slight chance of market going up, but is only about 55% chance. In terms of the topics that we may see being in the news this week, I think on Monday there may be increased focus on businesses related to telecommunications, IT, airspace, airlines, electric cars, even power generation in general, social sort of media networks, etc. And it doesn't necessarily need to be a negative or positive situation, but rather something could be clarified. Perhaps if there's an uncertainty about some next steps, that perhaps a deal may or may not be happening, it may be clarified at this time whether or not it actually is going to take place, or who the next perhaps leader going to be, or who is going to be appointed on some to some important position. Then also on Monday and Tuesday, on those 2 days, there may be positive news for either entities or individuals that have to do with any sort of either businesses or individuals that perhaps work with international partners, or individuals who are, say, ambassadors, diplomats, or bank CEOs, or are prominent, perhaps politicians or actors, or prominent in the sense that they're very sort of highly respected, perhaps professors, judges, lawyers. And those individuals perhaps may receive some positive news, such as maybe their popularity may increase, or if it's a business, again, something to do with again, international relations or legal issues, those businesses or those individuals may also receive increase in their profits or some financial support. Perhaps if they're part of some organization of entities, they may receive support from that larger organization or from other entities within that, or perhaps from financial investors. For China, this week is significant, and especially December 2nd through 5th. And in particular, again, for China this time, there may be increased focus in the news in terms of their relations or partnership with other countries, or in terms of deals or contracts that they're entering. Some deal may be pursued fairly aggressively. If there was a deal already in the making, it may be pushed to conclusion faster than expected, and or the deal itself may somehow be related to weapons or army, military, etc. So perhaps like a sales of weapons, or some large investment in equipment or sale of the equipment, but basically something that involves fairly large substantial investments, or passing some legal, I guess, acts to ensure that there's a basically a smooth path to either improving, the capacity of, say, some forces, or having more advanced weapons, or profiting from perhaps sales of weapons, or even improving sort of stance in terms of, being a more powerful country in terms of perhaps investing into power plants, literally. And so again, there may be some focus on either financial investments, expenditures to improve, again, either some weapons, army capacity, or perhaps profits from those areas by collaborating with international partners, perhaps, some sort of a sales deal or some partnership situation. In terms of the background influence, and that is good not only just this week, but also will be with us through the end of the year, there continues to be an increased probability this year of major geopolitical shifts, earthquakes, mudslides, just major accidents that are not do not occur very frequently. I did see there's some news last week about, I think, explosion of some volcano in Indonesia. So this probability of, again, some pandemics or just basically a lot of like this turmoil will be with us through the end of this year. And this particular week, the energy is the strongest on December 2nd and 3rd. And let's see. Also, as I mentioned in a few weeks, I guess previously, sometime between the 5th through, I would say, 16th of November is when we had the strongest, most exactly, I guess, conjunction between Jupiter and Pluto occurring in Capricorn, and those don't come, occur that frequently, and usually they coincide with some major reversal in the stock market. And I predicted that we will see a major top sometime 13th through 16th of November, and indeed 16th was like the second highest, I think, basically a close that the Dow Jones had achieved. However, on the 24th, actually, it reached even higher. It crossed the 30,000 mark. That said, I do think that from now on, if not after the 16th, but certainly now that we had the 24th being officially the highest, I guess, number that the Dow Jones had ever reached, I still believe that from now on, over the upcoming few weeks, if not months, we will see market slowly going down overall. And that is because this conjunction now is separating, and of course with Jupiter bringing this boundless optimism, and Pluto again being basically a planet that rules things like sort of superpower, nuclear power, huge outreach beyond, I guess, again, borders, and really strong influence. Now this energy will be slowly dissipating, and so, unsurprisingly, I'd say we probably will be now seeing slow sort of descent from the peaks we may have reached at the end of November. Again, the background influence for US, I would say September through the end of December of 2020, there may be increased focus on sort of any areas related to banks, financial institutions, earnings, rates, loans, debt, etc. Of course, we have the increased debt, and in part, of course, due to pandemic, but in general, this is the time, again, that those areas may be either there may be some reassessment, restructuring, or even concerns about excessive debt. And this may unfortunately result in some sort of shakeups, either shakeups in the leadership, perhaps even either bankruptcies, or banks may have to cut their operational costs, or some other ways basically where banks may be seeking to reduce, I guess, their losses, or to preserve, I guess, their assets. Let's see, and kind of jumping a little bit ahead, in January, that's globally, there may be some major surprises coming up, not just with the US, but in general, and those may also involve specifically financial institutions. But for US, this whole period, September through December, may see increased focus on financial institutions, and again, either some shakeups or restructuring, or some restrictions, or some voluntary cuts, basically to save money. Let's see, and for China, again, through about December 23rd of 2020, this is also a period of fairly major transformation, where there may be increased focus on things like oil, pharmaceuticals, healthcare, also floods, pollution, infectious diseases, hospitals, any sort of hidden places, secrets, and also recycling. And of course, they are going through some changes in terms of, I guess, preventing, or they will stop issuing, yes, permits for receiving some solid waste or something like that from other countries. So that definitely is an area where there's a lot of transformation has been happening, and that's under a strong transit of Pluto through their 12th house, rather through Yeah, and that will be in place through about the end of this year, and that has been affecting China's economy, I guess, or they're even just entire country starting as early as 2018. So that's like a very slow process and a lot of transformations going in those areas. And again, we had serious floods in China earlier this year, but this, and of course we have pandemic that again, official story, I'm not sure what the official story is, but certainly there were a lot of news about this pandemic originating, or at least becoming really strong, first in China. And so all of those influences, they will again be slowly dissipating starting around January of next year. At the same time, also for China, through about December 8th, there may be strong focus on announcements that are related to some financial area or currency or loans. I did expect there may be some announcements regarding specifically currency at the end of November. I didn't see that happening. I did see there's some news about basically, expanding their outbound investor schemes. So yes, as I said, that I had expected at the end of November, sometime on the 27th and or 28th, that there will be increased news from China regarding their currency and or just some other financial projects that perhaps look to aggressively improve either China's profits or somehow establish their dominance on the financial, as financial superpower. I didn't see any announcements about specifically their currency. However, on the 29th, there was an announcement out of China that they will expand the scale of the two pilot schemes that they're running to allow domestic investors access to foreign assets. And that's according to their foreign exchange regulator source. So I guess they had two schemes running, and they're expanding it to more locations, and also I guess allowing there to be increased money allocated to that. So that is, I guess, in line with what I had predicted previously. And this energy of these kind of new projects for China that specifically are related to finance and pursuing some sort of aggressively pursuing some goals of improving financial sort of power will persist through sometime 8th of December. In terms of the coronavirus, and again, that specifically, I saw that there's a transit through China's chart that was indicative of China focusing on either healthcare reform or dealing with something that relates to healthcare, pharmaceuticals, hospitals, etc. That aspect again is going to be strong through, I'd say, the end of December, but after that it will begin to wane. So I would say that for China, this whole issue of this, COVID-19 pandemic will become less and less of an issue from end of December onward, and probably for the rest of the world as well. That said, as I mentioned again previously, we will still have a major transit coming up in 2025, so maybe it can start as early as end of 2024 and continue into early 2026, where we will have transiting Saturn and Neptune conjunct, and that is the same aspect that previously occurred under the Spanish flu pandemic of 1918, so that's definitely something to be mindful about. And in terms of oil, I believe from November of this year through about February of 2021, there may be increased focus on issues related to oil, gas, but also chemicals and really any other liquids or gases, as well as, of course, wet weather, Navy, and unfortunately, there may be not only focus on specifically commodities and the value perhaps of some of the related, stocks or businesses, but there may also be increased probability of perhaps associated market volatility and concerns, of course, about oil prices, but also increased probability of some disaster or some mishap, or even just really bad weather that involves excessive precipitation, so some sort of a blizzard, flooding, etc. And that might be especially strong in January of 2021. And then specifically for oil, looking further in about April, especially April 8th through 11th of 2021, there may be again sort of increased focus in the news on any issues related to oil. This could be possibly due to some infighting among the countries that are oil producers, or some concerns about oil transportation, and that again may affect oil prices and also result in some large market drop, especially 8 and or 9 of April. And after that, there might be another such situation sometime in early September, especially September 1st through 3rd of 2021. So going back to sort of situation, just because what I see of about transits through the natal chart of China, I do see that there is some important time period starting from about December 17 through the end of January 2021, and especially between like December 25th and January 2nd, where there may be some important announcements out of China regarding some new beginnings or really major large-scale projects, and those especially may involve some new technologies, IT, artificial intelligence, aerospace, networks, power plants, but could also be related to some healthcare and veterinary care as well. And those may be really long-term or really large-scale projects that will again be perhaps scientific or involve some really high-end technologies. And at the same time, there may also be increase in announcements about sort of China positioning itself or changing its relations with when it comes to being a partner in some sort of organization or multiple organizations such as APEC, or some collaboration with a group of partners. And those projects may be related especially to oil, gas, chemicals, navy, pollution recycling, etc. There may also be some new laws, regulations that are either passed or visited or announced that possibly are related to human rights and freedoms. And that's for China. And globally, the second half of December, so that's not this week, but I guess a few weeks from now, we may get into somewhat of a more of a tense time, and unfortunately it will be intensifying right around December 23rd, where there may be another uptick of sort of situations that involve some geopolitical turmoil or some either protests such as anti-governmental or anti some sort of established leaders, or against police brutality, or some against some illegal activities. There may also be increased uptick in like violent attacks, fires, explosions, etc. And in addition to that, around the 19th through the 23rd of December, there may also be increased news or some changes related to businesses that again are sort of high-tech, IT, aerospace, social media, electric cars, any sort of electronics, airlines, etc. And those businesses may see either some regulations coming their way, or perhaps something that has to do with maybe protecting intellectual property, or some legal precedents is established about basically what should or shouldn't be done and how to do it. And there may also be in the same time limitations on either import, export, or on international travel. Also on my blog at lestonka.com, where I usually post all of these predictions the day before I record this, I had added some new kind of overview predictions for next year, and those are just highlights at this point. But in addition to this period, as I mentioned already in the past, of around, let's say, the 7th of January to the 7th of February being really kind of maybe difficult, where there may be some surprises, especially for banks, cryptocurrencies, as well as ITs, again, telecommunications, high-tech airlines, etc. Those kind of businesses, there again may also be in addition to that, around the same time, but maybe starting as early as the 4th of January through early February, there's a strong probability of some either accidents or disasters. Could be, again, just really bad weather with too much precipitation, or the situation may involve some problems that are related to businesses or places that may have to do, with Neptunian sort of influences. So like ships, navy, water parks, aquariums, movie theaters, concert halls, places of worship, maybe even hospitals, prisons, monasteries, etc. So there may be a situation that perhaps something collapses, or again, just there's a flood, or some years back there was a situation in US where there was, I guess, this Bayou Corne sinkhole had developed, where basically there was a salt dome that had been punctured, cavern was punctured, and basically a sinkhole had developed, where then of course they had to evacuate people, etc. And so the situation may be something along the lines where there's either some liquid or gas, perhaps oil leak, or some pollution contamination, and it needs to be contained. Could also, of course, be related to infectious disease outbreak as well, and it could be more than one such situation. And basically January through early February looks like a fairly busy month, both in terms of maybe stock market volatility, surprising situations regarding like IT, banks, technologies related, again, especially to banking or airlines, as well as, unfortunately, bad weather and accidents. And of course, on the 20th, I believe it's 20th, if not 21st of January, we will have the presidential inauguration day in the US. And what do you know? There will be an exact Mars conjunction to Jupiter, squaring, exact Mars conjunction with Uranus squaring Jupiter, but also I think Moon is also going to be involved there as well. So basically a very, I would say, interesting day where there may be, again, a lot of surprises, if not accidents, and maybe excessively windy weather or something, an issue may be coming through, something that is that travels by air, basically. Again, this could be just excessive wind, blizzard, or power outages, or some accidents, or just, general volatility, surprises perhaps in the stock market, where something is just going up and down really quickly. So certainly something to be planning for, and January definitely looks like an interesting month. And I have been looking at the other months of the year as well for 2021, and I will be putting together something for 2021. It doesn't look like it's going to be quite as I'd say difficult of a year as 2020 was, because we will not have that Saturn conjunct Pluto transit anymore. However, we will have some other interesting developments, and of course, looking even further, we will have in 2022, 23 interesting transits to US chart that are indicative of serious changes regarding like financial sphere and governance, and also potentially real estate, and it will be definitely interesting time to, I guess, to live through. But this week doesn't look too bad, I guess, and hope you're enjoying it so far, and you hope you also enjoyed this video, and will come back and check me out next week. Until then, I'll catch you guys later. Bye.